Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Snackbox. Hope you all are having an amazing day. As you maybe already saw in the update preview, we will have a new mythical champion from the Grim Forest. You can get fragments from the Grim Forest chest, I think only on the hard mode. I'm not quite sure, but I think that's how you achieve this mythical champion. And we are talking about Anaxia the Reborn. Lizardman champion, the first form. And yeah, before we go into the kit and talk about the things that this champion does, let's take a look at the graphics. Pretty cool design. Has this tribal Aztec armor. Pretty damn amazing. A lot of details. A glowing sword, which is always nice to see. And yeah, looks awesome. And now let's talk about the kit in a first form, okay? So it's a death-based Lizardman mythical champion. And the A1 Thirsting Sword attacks one enemy and heals all allies by 5% of their max HP. Heals all allies by an additional 5% of their max HP if this champion attacks a target under a leech debuff. It's okay. A little bit of heal on the A1, kind of nice. Can provide survivability for your team. Nothing crazy, but a solid A1, right? So nothing too special about this one. Then the A2 Death Plunge, a free turn cooldown, attacks all enemies, so it's an AoE hit. Heals all allies by 15% of this champion's max HP, so that's already good, right? But also at the same time, it is weird because this form is death-based, but you heal from the max HP, but okay. The value of the heal increases by 5% for each leech debuff on the enemy team. So as you might have noticed, a lot of synergy with leech, okay? If a champion receives any surplus heal, places a shield buff on that champion for 2 turns. The value of the shield is equal to the amount of surplus heal received up to 30% of the champion's max HP. So you can get a 30% shield on your allies if the surplus heal hits that amount, right? Now the A3 All-Consuming Roar, also a free turn cooldown. Another AoE hit, places a leech debuff for 2 turns and a provoke for 1 turn on all enemies. Also places a counterattack buff on this champion for 2 turns. Not so sure about this one. I mean, provoke. Where do you need provoke? Maybe in enemy waves, or Hydra. Okay, but it's an attack, so it can weak hit, and it's a provoke for 1 turn. I'm not so sure about this one. Don't really like this skill that much, but I guess for faction wars, this could help to keep the waves under control. But then again, it's a mythical champion with a 1-turn provoke. Kind of weird. All right, let's take a look at the passive. Each time this champion hits an enemy under leech debuff, so again, synergy with leech, increases this champion's defense and HP by 5%, stacks up to 50%. Pretty cool if you manage to hit 10 times an enemy under leech, you will have 50% more defense and HP, which is kind of crazy. When attacked by enemies whose attack is higher than or equal to their defense, has a 100% chance to place a 50% decrease attack. When attacked by enemies whose defense is higher than their attack, has a 100% chance to place a decreased defense. So there will be a lot of champions in PvE that will have higher attack, than you have defense, and also have higher defense than you have attack. So pretty reliable decreased attack and decreased defense on the passive gives me kind of a little bit of vibe of Krisk, but this is conditional. So not bad, I guess. When attacked by enemies under a leech debuff, has a 50% chance to place a provoke debuff for 1 turn. So if you keep that leech up, there's a 50% chance that you maintain the provoke. Not bad. Not bad, but doesn't really amaze me that much. This first form looks like a solid healer, provoker. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know how the damage will be, but I think this form will be quite tanky because you stack up or you ramp up defense and HP, but that's about it. Now let's take a look at the second form because this is where I think it gets a little bit more interesting. So this form is HP based, okay? And what I'm not quite sure of is if the ramped up HP from here, from this passive, also counts for this form. So that is one thing that I don't know, might need to ask if this is the case. All right, before we jump into the kit, let's take a look at the graphics. Now, she has 2 glowing blades. So yeah, the second form looks like it ate a very hot chili. Yeah, but pretty amazing, pretty nuts. All the details. What is this? Is this a blade in the chest? Wow, that is crazy. Okay, looks awesome. I really love the design with the, Aztec armor and then the red glowing knives or swords. Now, the A1 Blade Axle attacks one enemy, places a block buffs debuff for 2 turns. This debuff cannot be resisted if the target's HP is lower than this champion's. Okay, so for PvE content, you would need accuracy because you will not have more HP than bosses, for example. And then for this condition, it is also important to know if the passive is actually working from the first form, right? Now, the A2 4-turn cooldown can be booked down to a 3-turn cooldown, attacks one enemy, will ignore stone skin buffs. The damage inflicted by this skill increases by 50% if the target's HP is lower than this champion's. Resets the cooldown of this skill if the target is killed. Alright, so clearly we are trying to make this a arena champion here because we are ignoring stone skin. Okay, but we have to stack up a lot of HP. Very important, right? We have to stack up a lot of HP because there are a lot of high HP champions out there. Nice, Empress, Galateer, Commodus, right? And we have an HP-based champion here that is Spirit Affinity, which is not so good. There are a lot of Magic Affinity champions that are top tier. We have Siegfried, Commodus, we have Nice, right? So it's, I don't know, a single target, stone skin, ignore a single hit. Is this really it? I'm not quite sure. But, it's also hard to stack up the HP, right? Because everybody will have stone skin, or most people will have stone skin on their champions, so you can't really ramp up your HP over like 5-6 turns and then use this skill. So I don't know. Not quite sure about this one, but let's keep on reading. The Soul Separator, 3-turn cooldown. That's the A3. Attacks one enemy, so again, single target attack. Before attacking, places a 30% increased crit damage buff on all allies. Steals 50% of the target's turn meter. Steals 100% turn meter if the target's HP is lower than this champion's. Destroys the target's HP by 25%, destroys 50% if the target's HP is lower than its champion. So as you can see, everything is based around having your target, lower HP than you. So I really hope the base HP of this champion is relatively high, because otherwise this whole condition doesn't make sense. Also, for PvE, if you hit the harder stages, those conditions won't work. You won't have more HP than, Faction War hard waves, right? So let's take a look at the passive. I think, this passive does really make a difference, but it's also hard to utilize. Maybe there is a way, but let's read it. So Rage Nexus will ignore 15% of a target's defense if the target's HP is lower than this champion's. So again, you have to have the highest HP to utilize this. Will also ignore 15% of the target's defense if the target is under a leech debuff. So there's no leech in this form. We can't place leech on this form. We can only place leech on that form. And that is the thing that doesn't make sense here. Like, first of all, we are benefiting, from leech. We're getting more damage, which is cool. But there's no leech on this form. We have to place it with this form. And to place it with this form, we got to make sure that nobody has stone skin or can cleanse on the enemy team. So we're placing the leech, right? Then we got to take another turn. And then well, first we gotta strip the stone skin, then we're gonna take a turn, place the leech, then maybe provoke, then maybe get polymorphed already. And then in the next turn, we swap forms. Maybe someone has still leech on, maybe not. Who knows? And then we can use the damage, or then this passive takes effect. So I don't know, that is kind of a weird synergy and a weird kit, and you can't really utilize it, right? You can't really make this happen unless I'm completely wrong. But this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. So every third skill this champion uses will attack all enemies instead. So this is the part that makes this a little bit more interesting, because suddenly this frenzied execution becomes an AoE stone skin ignore. The only question is, how will you take 3 turns, right? That is the question. How do you make this happen? Maybe with a chrono cube, but then the question is, does he hit hard enough, or does she hit hard enough? Those are the questions that I'm asking myself. How high are the multipliers? And we all know from previous HP-based champions that got released, the damage has been pretty mediocre, to be honest. And I don't think it's going to change with this one. But maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe the damage is completely out of this world and, it will kill anybody. But I highly doubt that. So yeah, if you can make it somehow work that you use this frenzied execution on the third skill, then it becomes pretty interesting. But at the same time, once you take 3 turns with this champion, the stone skin is probably already off because the enemy team took a turn already. So I don't know. It all doesn't really seem to add up if I play it out in my mind, but maybe I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments below how you feel about this. Maybe there are some PvP heads out there that feel the same way or disagree, so let me know in the comments below, but that's just how I feel about this kit. But let's finish the passive. We haven't finished reading it. This champion joins every third attacking skill used by allies. This champion will use their default skill when joining in that skill. So yeah, a single target attack, kind of an ally attack, I guess, and then a death aura for an HP-based nuker. I don't know, guys. I think this is pretty underwhelming. If you find a way to somehow, use this stone skin ignore on the third skill, this could be pretty cool if the damage is enough. If not, then it's all about the first form, a provoker, a healer, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really like this kit, to be honest, but we will still have to wait and see how the multipliers are, how high the damage is, and there will be content creators coming out with videos from the test server. Also, please subscribe to the channel. We really need to hit the 8,000 subscribers so I can also jump on the test server at some point. And yeah, also hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. And that's been pretty much it. All I got for you now in terms of this mythical champion. We will get this champion through fragments from a chest in Grim Forest Hard, I believe. And yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. The YouTube algorithm is going to suggest you a video that you might like right here. And see you in the next one.